So I've got an Icom ID-5100 with a bad display, so it up here in this upper left corner keeps having phantom presses, and so I'm going to try to replace the digitizer on the front here and see if that improves it. So if you turn it around here, there's 4 screws that you need to remove. The magnets you can keep on there. So I've got a Phillips double-aught, a 00 head that I'll use to remove the screws. So just remove those. They may be a little tight, but should just come right out. You might have to press a little bit to keep it from stripping it. Sometimes they get a little tight, especially if you've removed them a couple times. It may be even more difficult. And I've got the gloves on just to keep from getting fingerprints all over everything, especially once we open it up. It's just much easier than trying to clean it up later. So no hazards in here, just being lazy so I don't have to clean it up later. Okay, there we go, 4 screws out. And then we want to take the knobs off, so these you just pull. Just kind of wiggle, there's just a friction fit, so you can remove those. The top ones here, smaller and a little bit more difficult to remove sometimes, but just going to wiggle a little bit. You can see here, it's got just a couple little pegs there holding it on, so it's not too crazy. So there you go. And then do the other side here. Just kind of pry. You might have to get something underneath there if you need to, but you got to be careful, otherwise it'll bind up. So there, with those removed, it'll just save work for later. So we'll pull this apart here. You can kind of see it's got a little bit of an edge forming there. It's got a couple little hooks in there, so you may have to get a guitar pick or some other plastic type separation device in there to just pop it free. And then you'll want to be careful, because there's the GPS antenna is at the top, and so you want to make sure that you're opening it from the bottom. So if you open it from the bottom, you see there's the cable for connecting to the GPS, and there's a little flip tab here that you just flip that up. You can use the guitar pick or something, just or your fingernail if you're not wearing gloves, and then you just flip that up, and it's just a little flap gate, and then this will just slide right out very easily, and then you can set that aside. And now we can remove this ribbon cable here. Same thing, it's just got a little slide, a flip there. You can kind of see it's just a little darker colored flip tab there, and then this just very easily pulls out of there. And then there's another one up here. So this is the actual touchscreen connection up here, and this one's a little bit different. So this has just got a little slide that you just kind of push off to the right there, and it just releases it. And then you can use a screwdriver here to gently pull this out of the way, and it'll just kind of flip back in there. It likes to be in that position. So now that those are all disconnected, there's 4 screws which are neatly numbered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which we'll remove, and then that'll remove the circuit board. So and we'll keep these screws separate from the first round, just because these are different, slightly different types of screws. or could be, so don't know, don't pay attention, but we'll keep those separate. It doesn't matter what order you remove these in. Once again, using the 00 Phillips. Okay. So with all those 4 screws removed and the cables, you can, and all the knobs, you can easily remove the circuit board and put it off to the side. So now there's 4 more screws. These are definitely different. Well, you can also remove this power button. Easily it'll fall off anyway, so you can set that aside. And now we need to remove the LCD. So the touchscreen is actually behind the LCD. So this is what we'll do here is remove these 4 screws. See, these are a different color, so see that they're different. It'd be helpful to have a magnetic tip here just to capture those, but otherwise you just grab them. We got another one, last one here. And so with those removed, this is quite the assembly. So there's quite a bit of parts here, and this is why I have the gloves on, is for this part here. If you just kind of lay it over like that, there's the whole LCD. You can see it's not much to it, but we'll lay that off to the side here, and we'll just try to keep that clean so it doesn't get any dust. And so what we're left with here is just the touchscreen, and you can see that it's just got this little fitting here. So now we need the tricky part of removing this, and so if you look here carefully, you kind of see that this it goes behind the plastic there. So what we'll need to do is this is pretty rigid, but we'll have to use a heat gun to remove the adhesive here and see if we can pop this out. So before we remove the part of the screen, I'll show you the part number. Digitizer replacement. So this is the Icom part number that you'll use. Here's a description. This matches the service manual description, but really all you need is this part number up here. And so if we pull this out, this is, at this time, it was about $70 or so to get this digitizer. And so if we remove that from the bag, you see it's the front panel, so it's the whole display. So the only thing that you'll notice is missing is on the original, it has a GPS kind of sticker that was added later. So you see that this is there, but really it's no different, identical. So what we need to do is remove this whole glass and everything. So don't have to worry about saving anything from the old one unless you want to try to recover the GPS sticker. But otherwise, we'll just install the whole new one. Alright, so if you want to, I've got a cell phone tool here, just a whatever professional opening tool. You can use that. You can kind of get behind here and you can start to pry it up a little bit. It does remove it, but there is quite a bit of adhesive there. And then it's actually separating the 2 layers. We'll have to, it's not getting the whole thing. So let's use a heat gun to see if we can get behind that second layer back up here and see if we can remove both of these. And let's see, I'm kind of crazy and breaking it up here. So not ideal. Let's apply some heat and see if that helps remove it. Okay, so I've been working to remove this. So the first layer came off fairly easily, and it you can kind of see how it operates here. Just a little bit of heat, it didn't take much, and then it had this like adhesive layer here. Well, it's a separation layer, so if you look here you can see it has these traces, and so that's what connected up to this header over here. So there's this is one half of the touch screen, so basically two wires go to this, and then the other half two wires go around here, and that's when you press on it, that's when the two touch, and it creates a resistance, and then it triggers where the touch is. So for this back layer here, this one's a little bit more difficult to get underneath here to pry from the front. So what I did is I applied a little heat and then used this separation tool and kind of used this little indent section here. You can kind of see it's got a little cutout here. I used that as an entry point, and so I was able to insert this in, and then as you can see it's going up behind the adhesive there. So we'll just continue that with a little, just keep applying heat and working around and see if that gets it all the way out. Alright, so just about got it out. So yep, got it started up here and just applied the heat gun. So I had the heat gun in a vise and just kind of had it blowing the heat down here, and so I just do like 3-4 seconds at a time, kind of feel it with the fingers on the back side. You can feel the heat come through, so just kind of short bursts like that, and just kind of keep working at it, and then eventually you can get it started, and then it'll start working away around, and so then you're able to use this as a pry tool and just kind of keep working your way down. You see it separating there. If it gets too cold, so I may have to go heat it up again, but it looks like it's still coming out. So once you get it started, you may not have to keep the heat on it. Depends on how much adhesive is left. So there, yep. So just kind of gently pry, and there's the connection, and then you got the ring. So there's not much left there. So really, probably don't have to clean it up. It looks nice and shiny there. So what I'll do is I'll just use some solvent, acetone or something, and make sure that this frame is completely clean, and then we'll look at putting that new one back in. So yeah, nothing too fancy here. I got the adhesive left, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't look bad other than what I destroyed removing it, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Isopropyl alcohol is all I used, so I didn't have to use acetone, and it came pretty clean. So you notice here it's nice and shiny. I used a little bit of I don't know if you can kind of see it's a little bit more dull right here. It had some scratches where I put the pry bar under, so I just used a Brillo pad, Scotch Brite, whatever, just kind of smoothed it out a little bit so that it wouldn't have any ridges. So you can just kind of feel and see if it's smooth all around. I got most of the adhesive off. Looks like there's a little bit of dust that keeps going in there. So it likes the static electricity, so it kind of attracts the dust. But we'll see. So let's pull this and do a test fit. We'll feed that down through there and see how that looks. Looks like it'll work. You gotta be careful with this right here, how to feed that in. And then if you look up here, there's a little tag, so there's a protective layer. We gotta remove that. Well, that's probably the adhesive. And then there's another indication there. So, but make sure we have it on the right way up. So luckily this is the only way that goes over there, so that looks pretty straightforward. So this is where we go for it and see what happens. Okay, so if you look at the new screen here, there's actually 3 protective layers. So there's this one, which covers the internal screen, the visible part, and then up here at the top, there's a little pull tab right here. That's just for the adhesive around the edges. So that will just go all the way around here. And then there's a third one, that's the front, which is over here. You can see this little tab here. So that's the front protection. I already removed it a little bit. You can kind of see the bubble there. So there's actually three. So it looks like you just have to remove this one for the adhesive first, and then this other one that's inside should come off once it's in there. So we'll double check and make sure that this one doesn't come down here and interfere with anything on the unit. But if we look at this here, yeah, nothing should interfere. So it should be just the adhesive. We just take care of that, get it in there, and that'll keep the screen clean. And then the last step is we'll remove those two protective layers on the screens themselves. So let's try that out. All right. So there's the new Digitizer installed. So like I was showing you, make sure that this goes through here, but when you're installing it, make sure you push it all the way over this way. Otherwise, it will not fit down all the way, and you may have to lift it up. So you just have to be mindful of that, so that it lays nice and flat, and you can kind of see that it's got a good fit in there the whole way. So you can see this is the screen protector is all that's holding up on this side, but nice clean fit. So what you can do is just kind of come along and kind of pinch here a little bit to get that adhesive to set and stick. So just kind of work your way around there. Not too much pressure, just kind of enough to get it to seat. It's a pretty strong adhesive, so it shouldn't take much, probably just time in order to seat. So there we go. So now we can remove this internal protector and install the LCD again in reverse of disassembly. So let's see what we can do to put it back together, and we'll test it out. So yeah, so let's just remove this. It's got a little bit down there that it's in, but not too bad. So, and I'm going to try to avoid touching that even with the gloves on, just to make sure that we don't get anything up in there. So if we look here at the display, it looks pretty good. Maybe one little bit of a couple little specks of dirt, so we'll blow that off. And we make sure all the layers are in there, so there's some protective layers and some metal casing there, and make sure that those are all in the right place as we put this in. It has a dog ear here, so you can make sure that those line up so you don't put it in upside down. It has little pins here, alignment pegs, right there and there, that you can look and then do an inspection on the front there and make sure that it looks good. And then we can install the screws. So we'll go ahead and put these back in. And we won't go all the way down just yet. We'll put them all in, and then we'll tighten them down all at the very end. This one is up. It feels like this one is up a little bit. Nope, it's just want to make sure we're not going to bind anything. Here, just double check for looseness. Not a lot of torque on there, but just enough to make sure it doesn't slide around a whole lot. There, looking good. Double check everything there. Okay, now we can put the power button back in. Okay, just kind of sets in there. I'm going to grab the circuit board. Here, and it's got the cutout for the LCD and for the touchscreen. So actually the cutout is not for the LCD, it's for the GPS. So light it up that way, and you can feed the touchscreen through up here. Make sure that feeds through, and then gently make sure that this pulls out here and is on top. Check that everything is lined up and good to go there, and then apply the screws. Once again, not going all the way down. Let's loosen this one here. Let's go in order. Just to see if this is probably the order you're supposed to torque them in, since they're numbered. That way it gets the right compression and kind of alternates left and right. So we'll go over here. Okay, now all that's left is to reconnect the ribbon wires. So we'll do that here shortly, but it's looking good. Alright, so we've got the ribbon wires all connected. So if you look here, you can kind of see that this is a straight. As you look down, that's how you can tell it's in there all the way. This little black backer is straight. It wasn't too hard to train the touchscreen one into there, and then we've got the GPS reconnected as well. So we should be able to just clamshell close this up. Everything should fit back in nicely and snap together. So we'll make sure that everything's out of the way. And good to go. There. Now we'll just put the screws in, put the knobs back on, and go test it out. So I put them all the way in, and then I back them back out. And then when I do the final pass, we'll tighten them all down. You can kind of feel, you don't do a lot of pressure, you can feel where the old screw threads were formed. And so it's much easier to put in. If you end up creating new threads, it'll take a lot more force. So you just kind of barely apply any force just to get them started. Right there, and you see it just goes right into place. Lock it in. Okay. Once again, we'll alternate sides here. There. Double check them all. And then put the knobs back on. So when you put these on, you want to move it all the way to the left, one way or the other, and then line up the notch, because they'll go either way. So you can put it in the middle so it's straight up, however you want, but you just have to look at that, and these are keyed, so you can't mess those up. So those don't matter. So once again, just kind of put the knob on there and then rotate it, and then it wants to be to the left, lower left, to finish. But this little tab here is going to be in the way, so I don't want that to be stuck behind there. There. And then put these knobs on. There you go. As good as new.